If you're living in the fear of what your mom will think, or your dad will think, or your aunt will think, or your uncle will think, or your brothers or sisters will think, you are caged. You're in a cage.
I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid my family would look down on me. But when I took that leap and I really leaned into living life for myself, everything started to shift. Everything started to shift. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 916. Today, for episode number 917, it is Motivation Monday. When are you going to start living life for you? You want to start it, Alan?
So yesterday, Kevin and I were at Nipmunk High School talking about podcasting. And we prepped the night before. He slept over, and we each had 5 points for our keynote portion. And the very first point that I had really made everyone in the room slightly uncomfortable, but not in a bad way, in a beautiful, growth-oriented way, because it's a hard truth that we all must face. And I don't talk about it enough. I haven't talked about it enough. I used to talk about this all the time way back, Kev, when you and I were doing the Hyperconscious podcast, because I think back then you and I were controlled by this a lot more than we are right now. And so what is this that I'm referring to? It's a fear of judgment. And so this episode is, when are you going to start living your life for you? And I want everyone out there watching or listening to this to think to themselves, how many of my decisions are predicated on the opinions of other people? It feels impossible at times to move forward with anything in life without considering how it's going to be received by others. Well, I want to buy that car, but will other people make fun of me for buying that car? I really love this book or that show, but if I talk about it, will I be judged for that? I think that fear of judgment holds us back from being who we really are, from saying what we really think, from expressing what we really feel. And it saddens me because there's this one scene in a movie that I had you watch, Kev, by Steve Jobs, and it's the newest one. It's the new Steve Jobs movie. And by new, I mean, I think it's a couple years old now, but it's the newer one, the one without Ashton Kutcher. And there's a scene at the tail end when one of the people that Steve worked with at Apple for many, many years was saying, "Why do you want people to dislike you?" And he said, I don't want people to dislike me. I'm indifferent to whether or not they like me. And the other character said, well, since it doesn't matter, I always have disliked you. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Steve was perfect. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that any of us, myself or Kevin or anyone, is perfect. There really is no such thing. You know, Emilia says perfectly imperfect. And I have a quote on my wall by Steve Jobs that says, do not allow the opinions of others to drown out your own inner voice. And so when are you going to start living your life for you? I actually don't believe you can until you overcome this fear of judgment. I was with the high school students yesterday, and the very first point I made was this: listen, it's career day, and you came here to learn about how to start a podcast. Before you start a podcast, you have to know that the number one bottleneck to whether or not you start and grow and consistently scale that podcast is predicated on how much you can overcome the fear of others' judgments. Right now, let's say I'm in front of 1,000 people and I say one thing. I say, my favorite book of all time is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Everyone in that room who knows that book is going to be like, perk up and be like, oh my God, I love that book too. That's incredible. Everyone who doesn't read and maybe doesn't like reading might like me a little bit less subconsciously. They might judge me a little bit. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, I am telling you, there will be people who love it and people who don't. And I said this yesterday in the speech. I said, everyone think of their favorite movie. Mine is The Lion King. And when I said The Lion King, I said every single person in this room has a judgment, aka an opinion about me now based on me saying my favorite movie is The Lion King. They don't know the reason is because Mufasa died when Simba was young and my father passed away in a car accident when I was young. So there's a bunch of reasons underneath that statement, I love The Lion King. So many more than I could possibly go into in this episode. But the point is that if I was afraid of what other people would think, who's this 33-year-old guy whose favorite movie is a cartoon? If I was afraid of that opinion, I wouldn't be willing to say the God-honest truth, which is that is my favorite movie of all time. And the layers of that movie and what it means to me specifically, having a stepfather and having my father pass away when I was a kid, it goes deep and it gets better and better and better every single time I watch it. But my point is this. If you want to live a life for yourself, which, by the way, what's best for you is what I now believe is best for the world. Because if you're a good-hearted, wonderful person who wants to serve the world in a positive way, what's good for you is going to serve the world. What's good for you is what's good for others. You know what's not good for others? You being unfulfilled, you being unproductive, you being unhealthy and unhappy, you not expressing your true beliefs, you being suppressed and staying small. That's not good for the world. And so that's why Kevin and I did this episode is like, when are you going to start living life for you? This is Motivation Monday. If you're living in the fear of judgment, if you're living in the fear of what your mom will think or your dad will think or your aunt will think or your uncle will think or your brothers or sisters will think, you are caged. You're in a cage, and it's a cage of the expectations and opinions of others, and you have to break free of that if you're ever going to be fulfilled.
My question to start my side of this episode is how many people do something because they want to do it versus they do something because others want them to do it? And ask yourself that question if you're listening or watching this right now. How many of your decisions on the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month, the year-to-year, over the course of your life have been your own versus something that's been influenced by somebody else? I remember when Alan and I were getting ready to graduate high school, I had already decided I wasn't going to go to college. I applied. Honestly, the only reason I applied to colleges is because I was living life for other people. My guidance counselor told me I should apply. My friends told me I should apply. My teachers told me I should apply. My friends' families told me I should apply, and I didn't want to. So I didn't end up going to college. And as I was prepping for this episode, Alan, I realized pretty quickly that this is kind of a theme in my life. So I didn't want to go to college, so I didn't. I was perceived as the outcast, whatever. It was perceived that I probably wouldn't be as successful as everybody I knew that went to college. Totally understandable and totally fine. That's, there's no hard feelings there. But I remember I had a job as a hospital housekeeper, and I left that job and I didn't have anything else yet. I remember that. I remember leaving that job and I didn't have another job. And everybody thought I was crazy for leaving that. I've told the story about how I paid $1,000 to get out of my personal trainer's contract. When I quit that job, I didn't have another job lined up. I was living life for me. I remember the day I quit, I went down to Newport for the weekend. And I was just like, I'm going to go on a little mini vacation. Now, again, that was reckless at the time, but I was living my life based on what I wanted. The job I got after that, I was a truck driver and a forklift operator. I remember they laughed at me when I walked in the office and I said, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And they said, where are you going to work? And I said, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. They laughed at me. I remember the big boss laughed at me. Not in my face because he was across the room, but kind of. And then I ended up going and doing the fire academy. And then if you've listened to us for any length of time, when I left my weatherization job, the one that I was making all that money at, the one that I was suicidal at, again, I did that for me. I didn't care what my family thought. I didn't care. I did in the moment, right? Before it all happened, before I really, really hit rock bottom, I did care. And that's one of the reasons I was thinking so hard about what I wanted to do with my life. I did care. I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid my family would look down on me. Next Level Nation, I know many of you out there probably don't feel super supported. You probably feel alone, and you don't feel like you're going to be successful. And what's worse is, even if you do find success, you're probably going to be celebrating by yourself. What if you're just in the wrong rooms? I remember the first live event I went to, For the first time in my life, I finally felt like I fit in. I felt like I was valued for the person that I wanted to be, and big dreams were not only okay, but they were par for the course. That live event changed my life more than anything. And I was so afraid to go, but Alan convinced me to go, and since I had somebody to go with, it was much, much easier. Next Level Live is March 26th in Worcester, Mass. If you're scared to come alone, bring a friend. We're giving away 5 free tickets, but we're only giving them away to our local listeners. We want to meet each and every one of you. Make sure you get a free ticket while you can, because when they're gone, they're gone.
It is first come, first serve. Click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to the landing page. Put quantity 2, grab a friend, and put promo code local listener. It will make checkout $0. Get your ticket as soon as possible. Again, first come, first serve, and local listener you can copy and paste from the show notes.
We'll see you there. But when I took that leap and I really leaned into living life for myself, everything started to shift. Everything started to shift. And every time I did what I truly within myself intuitively felt was best for me, things have worked out. Now, I can't promise they will for you because I've been willing to grind and do different things or whatever it may be, but it has benefited me. And here we are now, and I have this giant list of proof that I have made the right decisions when it came to these things. When it came to living life for me, I have a giant list of proof that says I've done it. And here we are 900 episodes in. None of this would exist if Alan and I didn't say, you know what? I'm sick of living life for other people. Now, are there microcosms of that within our content or within our social media posts that we're trying to overcome? Absolutely, right? But the through line of my life and Alan's life really is we decided to start living our life for ourselves. And now it's our goal to help you do the same thing. So imagine yourself doing that. Next time you have a decision, a big decision, a small decision, what is perceived as a big decision, what is perceived as a small decision, think about this. Why am I making that decision? Am I making that decision because I'm afraid of what people on social media are going to say? Am I afraid that my parents are going to look down on me? Am I afraid that my former employers are going to look down on me? Whatever it is. At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is how you look at yourself. And I can tell you that I've been more fulfilled, more in alignment. I've had more joy, more happiness, more success. Even when I was quote unquote broke doing my thing. When I started living life for me, life really started to happen for me. And it's the same for you out there. So use this Motivation Monday as motivation to start asking yourself that question. Am I doing this for me? Am I making this decision for me? Am I making this decision for somebody else? Am I making it because I'm afraid of judgment? Or am I making this decision because I'm afraid I'm not living my life for me? I'm not living life for myself. That might be the most impactful question you can ask yourself after an episode like this.
It's important for everyone listening or watching to understand this dichotomy between selfishness and selflessness. Kevin living life for himself doesn't mean he's selfish. It doesn't mean he's not generous. It doesn't mean he's not having a positive impact. As a matter of fact, he personally is having more of a positive impact than almost anyone else that I personally am close with. So him choosing his own inner calling, aka living life for himself, is not selfish. It's actually selfless. If there's anything this world needs, it's more fulfilled people. And so when we say live life for yourself, when are you going to start living life for you? What we're saying is to stop making your decisions based on the opinions and judgments of others. That's really all it is. Maximize your own unique potential. Maximize your own unique greatest level of contribution. Maximize your own unique quality of life. That's the maximization triad. If you're living life for yourself, maybe you love dogs and want to open a dog shelter, but you're afraid you can't make money. You're afraid people will laugh at you. I have a client and dear friend who lives in a family, and these are her words, not mine. I'll keep it anonymous. She said, Alan, I grew up in a culture that was you are either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a failure. And this person is wildly successful in so many facets of her life. And I'm so goddamn impressed with her. but her family still isn't. I don't care. Alls I care is that she has fulfillment based on the fact that she's living in her calling. So when Kevin and I say live life for you, what we're saying is whatever your calling is, whatever fills you up, whatever makes you live a life of joy and happiness and health and productivity and love and growth and contribution, that's what we're saying. We're not saying be selfish and be a terrible person to other people and never care about anyone else. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is start living in your calling, not the calling that your parents want for you, not the calling that your judgmental relatives want for you, not the calling that society tells you you're supposed to do or be. Get out of the cages and boxes that this world puts you in. We were at a high school yesterday talking about this. Everyone in this school, everyone in this classroom has a certain reputation, and it ends up caging us. My reputation was being really good at math and the smart kid. And so, of course, I stayed in that lane. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to go to one of the best technical schools in the world. I'm going to be a Fortune 50 CEO, all that stuff. And in many cases, that was actually also my calling in hindsight. But back then, I felt caged. I felt caged by that reputation. Kevin was the one who was going to be a fighter, who was jacked, who had tattoos, who was a badass. And that caged him. Now he's a vulnerable, loving,
badass,
hyper-conscious man who also may or may not be badass, who actually has real confidence now, it turns out, before he was deeply insecure on the inside.
That's a fact.
But that's our point on this episode. Just if you can't drown out the opinions and judgments of others, you're never going to be able to make decisions in your calling. You're never going to be able to listen to that intuitive voice that says this is who you're meant to be in this world. You do have a destiny. You do have a certain calling, and you've got to listen to that above all the noise of society and culture and your upbringing and all that stuff. And that's a lifelong journey in and of itself.
Being as successful as you truly want is hard enough. Doing it by yourself is close to impossible. Alan and I have had amazing mentors, and we have an amazing community, and we have an amazing team, and we have amazing partners, and we're peak performance partners with each other. We would not get the level of success that we have and or desire if we didn't have an amazing community, and it's going to be very hard for you to do that if you don't. Totally free private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. That's where I got the next welcome, Next Level Nation. If you are in that private Facebook group, you will feel like you can be yourself. And you're not going to have people talking down about your dreams. If anything, people are going to elevate you to a new level. So it's totally free. All you got to do is click the link in the show notes. And every single day, Sarah has been crushing it with posts. So you will have some inspiration, some motivation, some education, but mostly you will have other people in your corner who want to see you succeed. They love you for who you are. They resonate with you for who you have been, but they want to see you become the person that you want to become. They care more about your future than anything else, and you do too. That's why you belong in this group. Click the link in the show notes, and it will take you right there.
Yesterday when we were at that high school, it took us back. We were in the lunchroom, we got a little tour, and we were in and out of classrooms, and it was just weird to be back in high school. It was fascinating. And one of the things that I said to the students was, Kevin and I are 33 and 32, and I went around the room and asked all their ages, and they said 16, 15, 17, that whole thing. And I'm like, you have 15 years to get to where we are. There's no reason why you couldn't do that. So just please, please, please believe in yourself more. What if you had absolute clarity on where you want to go? What if you had 10 out of 10 levels of commitment? What if you had 10 out of 10 levels of confidence? What if you had a community that was 10 out of 10 around you and surrounded yourself with extraordinary people? And what if you were 10 out of 10 consistent? That is what our online course is on. The 5 C's that are going to get you to the next level. Yes, we have an Evolve score with 33 C's now, but start small. This course takes you through the most important 5 that are going to really jumpstart and be that Mario Kart booster that you need. I use that analogy a lot because that's exactly what this podcast is. It's you got to go off the path a little bit to hit the Mario Kart booster, and then you get ahead of everybody else. And it's not to be better than other people. It's to be better than who you used to be. It's to accelerate your acceleration. It's to grow into what you're meant to be. All of us have made poor choices in the past, and we want to help you really make up for that by hitting these Mario Kart boosters as much as possible. Whether it's a book or a course or a podcast, that's what this is. It's going to accelerate. It's throwing fertilizer on the growth of your life.
Next Level Nation, tomorrow for episode number 918, it is last week's live podcast, staying on the same page as your significant other. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
The link to the course is in the show notes.